Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep into something I think is really interesting today. What makes older men attractive to younger women? I've got this article here. Older men will get a younger woman's attention by doing this, age gaps. And I'm thinking this might just, challenge a few assumptions along the way. What do you think? Ready to unpack it?
Oh, yeah. Always up for a challenge. Sounds like this is going to get into the psychology of attraction. So let's see what it says.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, the article highlights maturity as a major factor. But it's cool because it doesn't just stop at maturity is good. It actually breaks it down, Like what kind of maturity? What are we talking about here? So the article lists things like emotional stability, wisdom, there's decisiveness, clear communication, and a strong sense of self. Almost like, this image of someone who's kind of got it together, right?
Yeah. And I noticed that it really emphasized the appeal of a man who, quote, understands himself. Like he's not out there seeking validation from everyone else, not swayed by everything that's trendy. That kind of got me thinking about attachment theory and maybe how a secure attachment style, which people tend to develop over time with experience, maybe that plays into it.
Oh, interesting. Because, yeah, a secure attachment style does bring that stability, right, to the table. And the article even mentions younger women often crave that, especially if they're, at a point in their lives where they're still figuring things out.
Absolutely. And, it's not all just about emotional security either. Like, think about social maturity, too. The article talks about clear communication, which it kind of goes with, like, social intelligence, right? Knowing how to navigate those tricky social situations and having, good communication skills. I mean, that's attractive no matter how old you are.
Totally. And, speaking of communication, the article actually contrasts younger men who, I guess, are still developing those emotional communication skills with older men who have just had more time, more life experience to really learn how to express their feelings openly and honestly.
It's an interesting comparison because it's not just about, like, expressing yourself. It's also about emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to understand your partner's feelings and empathize with them, being able to create that safe space, so they can be vulnerable. I think that can be incredibly powerful in a relationship.
Definitely. Makes you think, does the article actually talk about how these communication differences show up in dating?
It does, yeah. It suggests that older men tend to be more intentional about dating. It's not just like, the last minute Netflix and chill. They actually put thought into planning dates that are more than just hanging out.
Ah, so it's about putting in effort. Showing the other person you value their time.
Exactly. Like it gave examples, booking a nice dinner or maybe planning a weekend trip based on what the woman's into. Creating an experience, showing you put thought into it and that you really want to connect.
So I'm seeing how this all kind of comes back to maturity. It's not just about being older, it's about how that experience translates into a more mature way of dating and being in relationships.
Yeah. And I think that intentionality in dating, it also links to what the article says about confidence.
Oh, right. It talks about how confidence is this magnetic quality, but it's careful to point out that it's not arrogance or cockiness. It's genuine self-assurance.
Right. Because that's the key, isn't it? That kind of true confidence that draws people in, it comes from knowing your worth and not needing everyone else to tell you you're okay. It's like you're comfortable with who you are. I can see why that's attractive, especially to someone who's maybe still finding their own sense of self.
Like the article's saying, by the time you've lived a little, you've had some experiences, made some mistakes, you come out the other side with a stronger sense of yourself.
Right. That self-awareness, it can be really attractive. The article even says confident men don't seek external validation. They're not constantly looking for approval, which I bet can be a nice change for someone who's, maybe tired of those games. Or insecurities that you sometimes get when dating younger guys.
Okay, so we've got maturity, communication, confidence, all kind of woven together here. Feels like a pretty good foundation for any relationship, wouldn't you say?
For sure. But there's more. It goes on to talk about the importance of presentation.
Wait, before we go there, I just thought of something. The article seems to be saying these things. Maturity, communication, confidence, they're more common in older men. Do you think that's always true, though? Can't younger men have those qualities, too?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
We can't just generalize, right? Like, age doesn't automatically give you these things. It's more about the experiences you've had, the choices you make. A younger guy who's focused on growing as a person, he can definitely develop those qualities, maybe even more than an older guy who hasn't really done the work.
Yeah, good point. So it's not age itself, but more like what often comes along with it, the self-development.
Exactly. I think that's a much better way to look at it than saying older men have this, younger men don't.
I like that. Okay, so back to presentation. What does the article say?
It basically says it's important to take pride in how you look. Dressing well, grooming, that kind of polished look, putting it all together.
Interesting. So not about trying to look younger, but more like showing you respect yourself.
Yeah.
And care about the details.
Right, like you're sending the message that you care about yourself and how you come across to people. And that goes back to maturity and confidence, doesn't it? If you take care of how you look, people might see you as more put together, more confident, maybe even more successful.
I can see that. So presentation isn't just surface level then. It can show something deeper, like self-awareness.
Yeah.
Paying attention.
Yeah. And the article kind of hints that how a guy presents himself can actually show his values and his priorities. Like if he makes the effort to look good, maybe it means he puts effort into other areas of his life too.
I like that. It's not just about looking good, it's about what it says about you.
Exactly. And what it says in the context of attraction. Like, hey, I care about myself and I care about making a good impression on you.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot. Maturity, communication, confidence, now presentation. It's all starting to make sense together. But before we get too far ahead, what do you think someone listening to all this is thinking right now?
Good question. I'm really curious to hear what stands out to them.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm finding so interesting is how the article changes how we think about this whole thing. It's not like older men just have some, magic advantage. It's about seeing the value of experience and personal growth.
That's a great point. It's not about age itself. It's about the wisdom, the confidence, and the communication skills that often come with it. And really anyone can benefit from those things, no matter their age or relationship status.
Totally. It's like, it's not just dating advice, it's almost a guide to being a better person. And speaking of that, I wonder, does it actually talk about how to develop these, attractive qualities?
That's what I was just thinking. Let's find out what it says about putting all this into practice.
Sounds like there's a lot more to explore. I can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us next.
Me too. And I'm especially curious to see if any of this applies beyond just romantic relationships.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm already thinking about how these qualities could be helpful in, friendships or work, even with family.
Right. It's like those principles of attraction, maybe they're not just limited to one part of life. They could have a positive impact on, all our relationships.
Well, we've definitely opened up a whole new path to explore, but for now, I think we should let our listener, take all this in.
Definitely. Let's take a quick pause. We'll be right back to keep diving into this whole fascinating world of attraction. All right, so we're back, and we're talking about what makes older men attractive to younger women. Before the break, we were digging into how the article emphasizes relationship readiness and how that perception can be a draw for some women. But let's switch gears for a minute. You asked earlier about how someone can actually, cultivate these attractive qualities. Did the article have any advice on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's easy to say maturity is important, but how do you actually get more mature? Did it give any, practical steps?
Well, it didn't lay out, step-by-step instructions or anything, but it did make the point that these qualities don't just magically appear because you get older. It's about choices.
Yeah.
Like making a conscious effort to understand yourself and your emotions.
So you can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. It's about actually, doing something.
Right. It's like, anything you want to get better at, it takes work and practice.
That's kind of encouraging, though. I mean, even if you don't have, tons of life experience yet, you can still work on becoming, more emotionally intelligent, more confident, more self-aware.
Exactly. And I think that's a big takeaway. It's not about waiting to become mature. It's about taking charge of your own growth.
Okay, so it's about more than just, attracting someone. It's about being a better you.
Yes. And I think that's what makes this article really interesting. It's not just surface-level dating advice. It goes deeper into personal growth.
Like a self-improvement guide, but disguised as a dating article. Which makes me wonder, does it say anything about, those stereotypes people have about age gap relationships?
It does mention it a little, like how these relationships can get judged.
Yeah, that's important to talk about, because even if the people in the relationship are happy, they might still face, pressure from others.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's where all those qualities we talked about, they can make a difference. Like maturity, communication skills, being secure in yourself. Those things help you be more resilient. You need emotional intelligence to handle that kind of stuff.
It's like those qualities are even more important when society is judging you, right? It's not just about your happiness, it's about dealing with what other people think.
Exactly. And the article, it doesn't get super deep into this, but it does acknowledge that age gap relationships come with their own, special challenges. And you need a certain level of maturity to deal with them.
Like, it's saying, hey, it might not always be easy, but if you have a good foundation, good communication, you'll be able to handle it better.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's going beyond just the initial attraction and being real about the dynamics that exist in these relationships.
This is making me think. Does the article actually have any, perspectives from women who are in age gap relationships? It would be cool to hear their take on what they find attractive.
That's a great idea. But, no, it doesn't seem to have any firsthand accounts or interviews. It's mostly focused on presenting, the general framework.
Too bad. Those real stories would be so interesting. Maybe that's something we can look into for a future episode.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I think hearing those lived experiences would really add a lot. But for now, let's focus on what we do have.
Okay, so back to the article. Anything else that stands out to you?
Well, one thing that struck me was how it challenges a lot of the assumptions about, what women want. It goes beyond those cliches about wealth and status and all that.
Right. It's not about what a man can give you materially, but about those qualities that make him a good partner, someone you can connect with.
Yeah. It's about emotional intelligence, maturity, that ability to connect on a deeper level. Stuff you can't fake.
Like the article is saying, hey, forget those superficial stereotypes. Here's what really matters.
I find that refreshing. It's shifting the focus to personal growth and character.
Definitely. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Not just for attracting someone else, but for your own sake.
And that message, it goes way beyond just romantic stuff. Think about how those qualities could impact your work, your friendships, your family.
Wow, yeah. It's like that ripple effect we talked about, but now it's affecting everything around you.
Exactly. This article isn't just about dating anymore. It's about becoming a more magnetic person, someone people are drawn to.
It's like we found a treasure map, and it led us to all this wisdom and self-awareness. But okay, before we get too carried away with the metaphors, what's your main takeaway from all this? What do you hope people listening will remember?
That's a good question. I think the most important message is that we can all develop the qualities that make us attractive, inside and out. It's not about age or superficial stuff. It's about growing and becoming the best version of yourself.
I love that. That's a perfect way to sum up this deep dive. It's not just about figuring out attraction. It's about self-discovery and personal fulfillment. But before we wrap up completely, anything else you want to add?
Just one last thought. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about romantic attraction, but it just occurred to me that these principles could apply to other relationships too. It's not just about dating.
Oh, interesting. So you're thinking bigger picture.
Yeah, think about work. Imagine how those qualities, maturity, confidence, emotional intelligence, how those could affect how you interact with people at work. Like your coworkers, clients, even your boss.
So we're not just talking about attracting a partner anymore. It's like attracting success, opportunities, good relationships, and all parts of your life.
Exactly. And it's not just work either. It's, your friendships too. Yeah. Being a good listener, showing empathy, being able to communicate clearly, those things can make your friendships even stronger.
It's like that ripple effect spreading out to everyone around you.
And and family too. Those same things, communication, understanding, empathy, they can help with, those family relationships that can be complicated sometimes. Parents, siblings, even your extended family.
Wow, it's like this article gave us a cheat sheet for all kinds of relationships.
And the best part is, it's not like some magic formula. It's stuff you can work on, develop over time.
So you don't have to be a certain way to start. It's about that journey, becoming a better you.
Yep. And that's, I think, what I really hope people listening get out of this. It's not just about finding someone, it's about becoming someone.
Yeah.
Someone who's more magnetic, more fulfilled.
I love that. So we took this article about older men and younger women and turned it into something about how to have better relationships with everyone in your life.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe all that personal growth, maybe it'll even make you more attractive to that special someone. But even if it doesn't, at least you'll be more confident, more self-aware, more in touch with your emotions. And that's pretty amazing on its own.
Perfectly said. So to everyone listening, our challenge to you is to, take these ideas beyond romance. How can you use them in your own life to become a more magnetic person, a more fulfilled person? Let's see those ripples spread.
Great challenge. And remember, this journey of self-discovery, It doesn't end. Embrace the good and the bad, learn from everything, and never stop trying to be your best self.
So well said. To all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep into, all those fascinating parts of human connection. Until next time.